What is up, and welcome in. We are the One and Done Show, and we are continuing our summer road trip series, this time swinging through the Alamo City to chat with newly hired UTSA Roadrunners head coach, Austin Claunch. Coach talks to us about how each step in his career path has led him to this point, his expectations for the season to come, and how he is building this year's team through the transfer portal in year number one. Stick around after the interview as the captain, Mike Holland, and I give you our thoughts on the conversation. Take a look at the Runners' projected roster and preview what is sure to be another great season of basketball in the AAC. But for now, slip on your shades, sit back, and relax as we say bienvenido a San Antonio to new UTSA head basketball coach, Austin Claunch.
Get out the insurance cards, get out the copays. The office is open, my friends. Brought to you by drrodo.com.
It is my pleasure to introduce the special guest on One and Done. He is the newly minted head coach of the University of Texas San Antonio Roadrunners, Coach Austin Claunch. Coach, thank you for spending some time with us today on One and Done. How are you?
I appreciate you guys having me, man. I'm good. I'm ready to, we're starting up on some stuff next week and looking forward to getting in front of our team and starting to get, we got a lot of work to do. I love our group, but looking forward to getting them out there on the court and start working.
And we're looking forward to seeing you put in that work and reshape this Roadrunners program. So first off, congratulations, right? You are now officially in the Alamo City as the head coach for the Roadrunners. I guess from your point of view, just what's maybe the thing that excites you most about this new opportunity?
Man, that's a tough question for me to answer in a short fashion. I'll be honest. Obviously being from the state, I'm very familiar with UTSA and the program as a whole and its growth, not just from a basketball standpoint, but really the entire athletic department, right? When you look at just going from the Southland to Conference USA, now in the American, this is an exciting time to be at this university with the momentum that we have. It's a great opportunity for basketball. I think with our new practice facility that's breaking ground and just a lot of good things happening around the athletic department. And then you combine that with a city like San Antonio that is passionate about sports, love to get behind their own. I mean, again, obviously I'm very familiar with the state and I want our team to play and kind of embody that passion that is San Antonio. And that's going to make it so tough for us or so tough for other teams to come to San Antonio and win. Right. So just a lot of really good things about the situation as a whole and just excited to get to work.
Absolutely, Coach. And there is a lot of momentum with UTSA right now. So excited to see what you're going to do. Now, last year under the tutelage of Nate Oats as an assistant at Alabama, you got to learn a few things, I would assume. So he's obviously built that program into a national contender pretty quickly. What are some of the most impactful lessons you've learned under Coach Oats, and how are you trying to implement them with the Roadrunners?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's nothing, short of remarkable, obviously, what Coach Oats has done in 4 short years at Alabama. I mean, heck, they might be preseason number 1 next year. At the end of the day, I think there's a lot of things that I take from that experience. On the court, of course, we were one of the most efficient offensive teams in the country last year. With how we played with our pace and our spacing and our shooting. But then I think off the court as well is something that, maybe that's not something you see as much as a fan. You see how we play and our style to play. But then I think when you talk about Coach Oats, as a CEO and just how he empowers not just his players, but his staff, everyone within the program, and how ultimately he gets the most out of those people as well. I think not just player development, but people development, right? And I think that's a big part of why you see him having the success he's had in a short amount of time. I mean, he's only been a Division I head coach for 8 years, I think, or something like that, and it's a remarkable story. And you don't just do that by having good players. I mean, you really, really invest in people as a whole when you have, that kind of success. And I think that's a big part when you look at what we're going to do here at UTSA. What we're building, right? Our culture, and we want something here that's built sustainably, and we want to continue to empower people. We want to have a program that's built on character, right? Now, obviously, we're going to have talent. We're going to play fast. We're going to have stylistically a lot of similar, attributes to, our team at Alabama this past year, my teams at Nichols in the past. And then also the stuff you don't see on the court, right? We want to have a team of guys that embraces the community of San Antonio, the school. And I think that's how you ultimately build something for the long term.
Couldn't agree more. Coach, you are widely regarded as one of the bright young minds in the college coaching ranks, but unlike a lot of those younger coaches out there, you have a pretty decorated resume. You've got over 90 wins on your card. You were named the Southland Coach of the Year in 2021. You won 2 regular season championships in that conference. So obviously your situation is a bit unique, but kind of circling back to your age, do you feel like your age gives you sort of an advantage or an inside track in terms of connecting with the team and kind of getting the most out of your guys?
I certainly think there's probably elements of it, right? Like growing up in a similar era and maybe, liking certain movies or music, whatever the case may be. There's certainly things that there's certainly ways that it can play into your benefit. But I think regardless of your age, I think what's most important when you talk about connecting with your players is just authenticity. And I think that's something that players can sniff out, really from day one. And I've always just tried to be myself. I pride myself on energy, positivity, enthusiasm. I feel really lucky to be where I am. You mentioned my age and I've been fortunate, to do to be a head coach at Nichols. And I've been surrounded by great staffs, but also I was lucky enough to work for some elite head coaches. When you talk about, you mentioned Coach Oats, Richie Riley had a ton of, he was the one that really built the foundation in Nichols. Of course, Brad Brownell and what he's done at Clemson, just going to an Elite Eight. Paul Hewitt went to a Final Four. I worked for him at George Mason. So, I certainly don't have all the answers. I'm always trying to surround myself with people that are just going to look to work and are excited about coming to work every day. And I want players that feel the same way. We want to surround our program with enthusiasm and guys that are excited.
Hear that, Coach? Let's switch gears to what your washer is going to look like. We're sitting here in late June, so from our point of view, there's a lot to be excited about with some of the guys coming in from year one, especially from the transfer portal. Some of the names that we've kind of covered: Primo Spears, Paul Lewis, Raekwon Horton, just a few of the names. So, what are the opportunities and maybe challenges that are presented? As far as assembling an entire new roster, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's a lot of work in terms of visits and all those types of things. But to me, it's that's an exciting part of the job, is putting together your team. And then, ultimately just building that chemistry together. And that's not something that can be forced, right? I mean, that's going to happen organically. We got most of these guys here last week and kind of had that first team meeting, and we've done some voluntary things just leading up to, kind of going full gear here this week. We've got one more spot to fill, but I really, really like where our team is. I love the makeup of this team, not just from a talent standpoint, but like I mentioned earlier, I think we've got great people. I think we've got toughness. I think we've got basketball IQ, and of course, helps to have some shooting. I think we have some good shooting as well too. So, listen, it's again, we're building something that we want. That ultimately is going to. And that's the other thing about our team too is we've got a lot of guys that have multiple years. Yes, we hit the portal, but ultimately. We signed a lot of guys that we think are going to be a backbone for years to come. So, we'll see. You always have a plan until you get out there and then you start practicing and you're doing different things. So, at the end of the day, we want to instill who we're going to be as a program from an identity standpoint and start to kind of develop that culture of who we are. And then we'll worry about the X's and O's as we get a little bit closer to the season.
For sure. And based on who's on the roster now, definitely feels like it has the makings to be a very exciting team. And a lot of that has to do with something you mentioned earlier, right? Your teams at Nichols played at a big time pace. Last year, the Alabama team that you were on the staff for finished 14th in the country in tempo. So clearly there's kind of a through line here. There's a bit of a pattern that's emerging. So wanted to know from you, what is it about playing at a faster pace that you like the most or that you feel gives your teams an advantage?
Man, listen, I think, like you said, we played fast at Nichols, or I thought we did until I got to Alabama, and then I realized we didn't play that fast. I think, listen, it's the most efficient way to play first and foremost. When you talk about, the most efficient shots will come in the first 8 seconds of a possession if you play with pace. And if it's not just going down and jacking threes, right? It's ultimately about creating an advantage, keeping that advantage before a defense is able to get set. That's the biggest thing. And then also, I mean, listen, it's a fun style to coach and play, and it involves a lot of guys, right? I mean, last year at Alabama, we averaged 91 a game. You don't do that with one guy scoring all the points. I mean, you need 8-10 guys scoring double figures some nights, right? And so, I think it's a way to ultimately, show our guys and recruit a lot of good players. Hey, we need 9 or 10 guys, 11 on certain nights to come out and play because of the style and the tempo that we play. I mean, quite frankly, if you play a certain tempo, as compared to a slower tempo, 25 minutes at a faster tempo is really more possessions, than playing 35 minutes at a slower tempo, right? And so, again, it's more efficient. I think it's an easy way to engage, a lot of, engage a lot of your guys and utilize a lot of the talent that you have. It's always been, I played at a small school and we played that way. And it's just, listen, it's a fun style. And I think it gives the players a lot of ownership, which I think is, a formula for success.
Yeah, it's definitely a fun style, and possessions and percentages. You can't talk enough about those two things in itself. But Coach, we're based here in the Central Texas region along with you. The city of San Antonio has a rich basketball culture and a passionate fan base. So how do you leverage this enthusiasm to motivate your team? And what role do you see the community playing in the success of your men's basketball program?
Huge role. I mean, I said it on day one. I'll continue to pound the door on it. I think the combo can be the best home court advantage in the American, right? I keep getting people asking me about a new arena, this and that. We're good right now. I love the combo. I love what it can be. Obviously that starts with us playing, like you said, a particular style and playing with a certain energy. But when we do start to do that, I believe, and I know, as you just mentioned, this community will come out and support, and that's something that really excited me, the second I got the job. Similar to Nichols, I was in a community in Thibodaux, Louisiana that was, very close knit. They wanted to support the school. And when you talk about San Antonio and Texans as a whole, obviously we've got a ton of pride. We want to support our sports teams. And of course, it's always about winning, but I think it's also about how you play too and how you represent the city and the school. And so I know for a fact when we start doing that combo is going to be rocking. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, we are definitely looking forward to seeing that. Last question before we get you out of here, Coach. Speaking to the UTSA faithful, speaking to our national audience, wanted to know, what are some of the things that you hope will shine through about your program, both on and off the court here in year number one?
Yeah, I mean, I think on the court, just from an X's and O's standpoint, you're going to see a team that really wants to get up and down, really wants to, spread the floor and play with freedom offensively. But on the flip side, we're going to be really tough, and we want to, kind of create some, some disruption and chaos defensively. That's where we're going to make that. That's where we're going to ultimately make our mark, is on that side of the floor with how tough we are to score on and how active we are. And then, I think off the floor, more importantly, you're going to see a team ultimately that understands what's in front of them. And when I think about this year's team, it's an incredible opportunity to have an impact, over the next, when you look back 10 or 15 years from now. I think this 24-25 team, when you look at us moving to the American and new coaching staff, brand new team, this team really has an opportunity to lay an incredible foundation for teams moving forward. And I think you're going to see a team that plays with that type of motivation. The word I've kind of talked about a little bit with them is, legacy. This team really has an opportunity to sort of lay the foundation for a program that's trying to be built. And that's a really special opportunity. So you're going to see us play with an energy and enthusiasm, hopefully more than the other team every night. But that comes with a lot of work. We've got to get in the gym, and we've got to start to, kind of put the pillars up and build this thing. It's going to take a lot of work, but we're excited.
That right there is the University of Texas San Antonio men's head basketball coach, Austin Claunch. Coach, thank you so much for taking some time with us. We look forward to seeing your Roadrunners in year one, and good luck to you, and we hope to catch up with you down the road.
I appreciate you guys, fellas. Always love, meeting alum too. So yeah, it's good to see you guys, and look forward to coming on again. So birds up.
It is my pleasure.
UTSA head basketball coach Austin Claunch. Absolutely tremendous stuff there in that conversation. There is a buzz around this program I think that has a lot to do with the energy that he is bringing through that door every single day, right? So, Mike, want to talk to you a little bit about that conversation that we were fortunate enough to have with Coach Claunch. I mean, for me, a couple of things that really shine through. We mentioned it during the interview. Very young man, right? One of the bright young minds in this game, as we put it. But unlike many of those bright young minds, he's got some pelts on the wall, right? Like he's got a Coach of the Year award. He's racked up 90 plus wins, right? He's played under Coach Oats before, or rather, coached under Coach Oats. Like the type of experience that he's bringing in, it absolutely outdates his years by a long shot. And the thing that I like that he really underscored is his commitment to pace, right? Like he's played fast at Nichols. I love that he said he thought he played fast at Nichols, and he got to Bama with Coach Oats and got his socks blown off. But it's not just blind faith of we're going to play fast because that is what we do, right? Like he's very clearly thought through this, right? It's more possessions per minute, so he's getting more run for the guys, even if they're getting limited minutes. It necessitates depth, right? His ability to use that pace to attack the defense before it gets hit, before it gets set, will boost their efficiency. Just he's clearly thought through every angle about how this gives him an advantage. And one thing that I also believe he is spot on about, that convo is going to get rocking. That is going to be a fun home court as the Roadrunners move over to the AAC. So my quick notes on our conversation with UTSA's new basketball coach, Austin Claunch. Mike, anything shine through from our chat with Coach Claunch?
Yeah, I'll stick with the theme here. You're talking about the convo, right? We're talking about UTSA and the come up of the athletic program, right? So a lot of good things happening around the program. He talked about a new practice facility. The football program is really starting to turn heads. You get that football program going, people, more eyes on your program, and just really wants to build off the momentum of a growing athletic department. And you're in a big city, right? So a talent pool that's there. You're in a state that you find a lot of good basketball players. So everything is there. Just loved his excitement about it. Also, I love that he talked about empowering players and staff, right? Like people development to go with player development. Like it's not just developing your players, but the people, your assistants that are going to be coaching, everybody that's going to be around the program, right? Empowering them. So that's how you have quick success, which is obviously what he saw under Nate Oats in that 1 year with Alabama, but also something I believe he did early in his coaching career as one of the youngest coaches in the country at Nichols. So those two things kind of stood out. And then finally, like connecting with the players about, just not being a young man and connecting with them with the music, even though that may help, on, a recruit or two, but really just about the authenticity, just being real, surrounded by, elite head coaches and staff. So he was able to kind of feel that authenticity and able to, put that into his program. So, Coach Claunch, man, pretty humble, says he doesn't have all the answers, but he's shown that he has had at least a few answers early in his career.
Yeah, either he has some of those answers, or he is not shy about bringing in the people who do have those answers, and that is a powerful combination in today's game. So, a lot of excitement here on the show here in the Alamo City around the UTSA campus for this hire and for what he will be building with this UTSA program. Now, before we get too far looking forward, I do want to kind of set the table about the UTSA program that was, right, taking a little bit of a closer look of the team and program that he's picking up. They're coming off of 3 straight losing seasons. This is a program that has only been to the big dance twice since the turn of this new century. The defensive side of the ball has really been what's hurt them most, right? As low as last year, they fell all the way down to 332nd in the country in terms of defensive efficiency. On the offensive side, it's been a better story, but generally speaking, about middle of the road, just kind of okay. One thing that will remain consistent to an extent with Coach Claunch is that the former head coach Steve Henson did play at a top 50 pace last year, so there is a bit of history of moving the ball up and down pretty quickly. But what I really like I mentioned before with Coach Claunch's approach is he's not just doing it for the sake of moving fast, right? Like he thinks that there are ways to get better shots, to be more effective on offense by pushing the pace. And we all know that the best way to do that is to get players who fit that scheme, who fit that approach, right? And I think he's done a very good job very, very quickly of assembling a roster that can really, check all those boxes in terms of being organic and natural fits into his system. So that is the program that was. But Mike, taking a look forward, why don't we double click on the roster that Coach Claunch has assembled here? I think he's still got one spot open, but we've got a pretty good amount of clarity here at the end of June.
Yeah, I really like the roster. This is a roster that we've been talking about over the past month with some of the names that are coming in here. I mean, there is no shortage of talent, and a lot of these guys have made their mark at high majors. They've really made their mark as top scorers in the mid majors. So to me, it starts with Primo Spears, the transfer from Florida State. Like, coming in, he's a big time talent. Can really score the ball, really good facilitator. I expect him to challenge for all conference awards when it's all said and done. Who's going to start next to him in the backcourt? It's going to be interesting. And we got guys coming in: Paul Lewis from Vanderbilt, Skylar Wicks from just down the street at Incarnate Word, and Tayrion Joseph from Southern. All three of them should be in the mix. Like, when you look at Lewis, he's a nice floor spacer. He has Power 5 experience. Joseph's coming in where he just came off a season where he dropped 20 points per game in the SWAC. And then you have Wicks, like I said, who is just down the road there at Incarnate Word, averaging over 10 a game. So you have to like the options in the backcourt, and then a lot more love in the front court for Power 5 programs. Like, if Jesus Carello coming in from Missouri, he flashed upside really in limited runs. So we'll see if he's able to develop a kind of a more well-rounded game to get him on the court a little bit more. But the guy that I am most intrigued about on this entire roster is going to be Raekwon Horton, coming in from James Madison. I think he's got a chance to be a really, really good two-way player. We saw him last year when he hit the game-sealing three against Michigan State. That kind of sprung James Madison to this awesome year that they're just coming off of. So he played in the tourney. You got a bunch of guys on this roster that have talent. The question is, and Coach kind of mentioned it during the interview, right? Like, it's great to get all these guys, right? And we can talk about it, be excited about it on paper, but how does it all fit? And we always talk about that here on the show. Is going to be I think the biggest question, right? I don't have any doubt that he's going to be able to cook up a fast offense that takes good shots, that is an efficient offense. It's just a question of how well can they form a bond together? How will they play as connected on defense is going to be another question. But this roster, man, it's a lot of fun. So we're gonna see some exciting basketball down there in San Antonio.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun, as you said, and like we talked about earlier, this faster pace, it necessitates depth, right? We're going to see, I think, a lot of different rotations across these guys, both in terms of finding that sweet spot of where he wants to unload his usage, but also making sure that guys are staying fresh, right? Like, they are running and gunning out there. So while it feels like it might be a bit of a logjam of talent right now, I do think that we're going to see these guys get a fair amount of run as he sort of settles into what will be his eventual rotation as we get deeper into conference play. And speaking of conference play, UTSA, for those that are not paying attention, is a proud member of the AAC. UTSA has a pretty long history of conference realignment. Most recently, though, they made the jump from Conference USA over to the AAC last year. And last year, that is where they finished 5-13, which is what ended up being, another strong showing for the AAC, a very tough league for them to navigate. This AAC finished 9th last season in KenPom's strength of conference metrics. They were first in the country in close game percentage, so these games were coming all the way down to the wire. And since the AAC's inception, all the way back in 2014, the AAC has actually never finished below 9th in the history of the conference in terms of its strength of conference. So looking at the current landscape, there's a lot of new faces in here, a lot of new players coming in to overhaul rosters, a lot of new coaches coming in, right? A lot of movement, a lot of moving pieces here in the AAC, but it feels like we should be looking at another 2-bid league type of campaign coming up for the season to come, at least from my vantage point right now. So Mike, wanted to get your thoughts on the AAC overall, and specifically how you see UTSA stacking up in the conference.
Yeah, well, for UTSA, I mean, obviously there's work to do, right? Anytime you have a complete turnover, we'll need to see it on the court and in action. What you do have at the other programs, like we've had the honor of talking to a lot of coaches, obviously this offseason, right? And UAB, Florida Atlantic, Memphis, South Florida there with Coach Abdur Rahim. They're kind of going to be the darlings of the preseason. Like they have, either overhauled rosters that look really exciting, or they're coming off, big seasons with, player of the year type guys coming back. So we'll see. UTSA, I don't think it's a stretch or anything to say that, Coach Claunch and this team could put together a nice season. I don't think it's that far of a stretch. I mean, they're obviously going to need to be on the right side of the close games. Nearly 30% of the games in the AAC were decided by 4 points or less. If you just look at UTSA last year, half of their league games were decided by 5 points or less or overtime. So I'd argue on paper that they have a better roster than they did last year. The keys to really becoming a top 3 to 5 type finish have to start on the defensive end, which we've kind of mentioned, like on a possession per possession basis. Like, can you be a top 5 team in the AAC? Because I have no doubt that they're going to be a very, very strong offense. I think a lot of it starts in the non-con, right? Like, can you put some momentum together in the non-con? Can you gel quickly? Last year, by the time they got to conference play, UTSA got off to a 1-5 start. And when you have those type of starts, it's really hard to bounce back. You're kind of, you're playing obviously well from behind, but you have to have all the bounces go your way. Kind of hard to take a tough loss once you've started 1-5. So can they get their identity established in the non-con and come out and close some tough games is going to be the biggest question for me. If they can, I could see them having a top 5 type finish in the conference for sure.
Yeah, not out of the realm of possibility at all, especially when you think about how talented this roster is, about how Coach Claunch has a pretty well-proven track record of getting the most out of his guys. There's definitely several outs that lead to UTSA having a very competitive season in year number 1. That will do it for tonight's stop on the One and Done Summer Road Trip Series. Again, sitting down with UTSA head basketball coach Austin Claunch. I want to thank UTSA and Coach Claunch for spending some time and for helping this all come together. And if you are watching along here on YouTube, show Coach Claunch a little bit of love, hit that like button. And while you're there, jingle that notification bell, because this summer road trip carries on. We're talking to coaches left and right all throughout the course of the summer. But we're also going to be breaking down all of the offseason news and all of the happenings and in-depth details around position battles, recruits, transfer portal winner and losers, right, Mike? We got a ton of stuff queued up. So make sure that you have not only subscribed, but you have that notification bell on. Like I mentioned off the top, I am Eric Romoff. You can catch me on those Twitter streets at Fantasy Nav. He is Mike Holland, the captain of our ship here at GSM. You can find him at MC Holland34 on Twitter. Our guys, Napesy Hustle and Jay Heinrich, have the night off. If you want to see all of their thoughts on those Twitter streets, you can follow them at The Real Napier and at Dr. William Cannon, respectively. You can find our social media work on Twitter at One and Done CBB, as well as One and Done CBB on TikTok. So for now, we appreciate you guys swinging through and riding shotgun on this summer road trip. Make sure you have that notification bell on so you don't miss it, and we will be back for the next one.
Thanks for stopping by the office. Get your fantasy prescription by subscribing to the channel and checking out drrodo.com. And until the next visit, be well and take care.